Welcome to Hood Champion Boxing and Sports. In boxing, you find a way to win, find a way to lose. Please like, subscribe. Consider becoming a member to the channel if you enjoy the content and leave that donation for that fried rice and chicken wings. Hey man, Shakur Stevenson. He is being called out by the whole damn world, man. I mean, Ryan Garcia, Conor Ben, Pitbull Cruz. You got, I think, Xander Zayas had mentioned his name. I know something, Xander Zayas being Puerto Rican. Shakur Stevenson sound like he has some Puerto Rican roots as well. The bottom line is, after he went there and put the Nork Bing Bings all over football-shaped head Teofimo Lopez, man, Shakur Stevenson, he is in high demand. Everybody wants a shot at Shakur. And what's crazy is this man couldn't really get the fights he wanted before. Now everybody wants to fight him. Damn, it feels good to see people up on it. But I tell you right now, man, he being called out. It just highlights how he's now seen as a technical king at lightweight, a safe but dominant fighter, and a chess player that everyone wants to test. But I tell you what, you can't get in the ring with Shakur Stevenson playing checkers when he's playing chess, because he plays chess not to just get a checkmate. He plays chess to kill you with that jab. I'm surprised Teofimo Lopez survived that shit, man. But the public perception about the Shakurican, man, is that fans respect skill, but they still want blood and guts. Shakur's not going to give, he may give you some blood, at least what he draws out of his opponent. But he ain't trying to go out there and get into no blood and guts battle like Mickey Ward or Arturo Gatti. He ain't coming out there just trying to let you hit him in the face and then he start doing a little dance like Ricardo Mayorga. Shakur Stevenson ain't doing all that bullshit, you know what I mean? To that I say, in the most respectful way, for anyone who expects Shakur Stevenson to be the ultimate blood and guts warrior, hey yo, you McNicholas, hold your horses and stop taking it to the goddamn stupid. Shakur's a defense fighter who used to struggle with popularity, but now he's backed by popular demand. People want to see him. People's heads are still spinning over, I'm telling you, man, the way he dazzled in that ring against Teofimo. That was mind-boggling. To see him go in there, man, and put them bing bings all over. Matter of fact, it wasn't even no bing. It was just a bing. It was a jab. He just binged him all night. Bing, 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 bing. I mean, the man didn't know what to do. He made Teofimo really look. He didn't make him look like no former undisputed. He didn't make him like no ring champion or lineal champion. He didn't make him look like. He made him look like he didn't belong in amateur boxing. That's how crazy it was. But that just lets you know how good Shakur is. You know what I mean? Mayweather used to do that same thing to people. Crawford did that same thing to people. Andre Ward did that same thing to people. Joe Calzaghe did that same thing to people. There's a lot of fighters out there who just, when they get in the ring with their opponents, they're just able to elevate. And Shakur was able to do that. Now, I'm just interested in the psychological angle. Sorry, working on getting rid of this goddamn cough. It's like I got the handyman virus over here and shit. But I'm interested in the psychological angle. Being called out pressures Shakur to prove he's not avoiding exchanges. So there's a lot of pressure on him now. Everybody wants to smoke, or he better run towards it. You know what I'm saying? Like Rakim said, when I cook beef, the smoke will never clear. Okay, Shakur, you cooked up a whole lot of beef. Now you got the smoke. You better go in there and start inhaling it. You better puff, but don't pass. You know what I'm saying? So now these call-outs is forcing him into personality conflicts. A lot of people are calling him out and saying crazy shit about him. He's not a trash talker, but he's going to have to develop some really thick skin or learn how to goddamn cross-examine him with some intelligent comebacks. Because they want to fight him because they understand the business angle now. You know what I'm saying? They know if you fight Shakur Stevenson, now there's certain dollar signs attached to that guy that weren't really there before, but now they are. I'll tell you that. And with these call-outs, they just mean that he's becoming unavoidable. That's all it is. It's all business, man. Promoters need him in risk fights to grow the brand. And that's what I think is going to happen. Shakur can't come out here and move down the ladder now. He's got to keep moving up. If he comes down in weight to 135, Tank is an optimal fight. Or Shaki Foster could come up. There's a lot of different things he can do, but really, Shakir's talking about going up to 147, and he wants to do the business up there. Ryan Garcia, Conor Benn. There's a lot of opportunities. Devin Haney's always there. But I just think when I look at it and try to understand the tactical angle, man, I think for anyone who's like, yo, I'm going to get at Shakur Stevenson, I think opponents believe pressure is the key. And I'll be honest with you, I think it is too. Effective, intelligent pressure. It's just like when you watch Murray and Andy Cruz. The boxer is always going to do outstanding up to a certain point. The difference with the pressure fighter and the boxer is more times than not, the pressure fighter has more stamina. Shakur has the kind of stamina it takes to fight just as strong, just as sharp, and to be just as precise in the first round, from the first second of the first round to the last second of the 12th round. That's why I think anybody who's trying to approach a Shakur fight from the tactical angle, thinking they can use pressure, okay, I agree. That can work if you can out-condition him. If not, your ass is grass. Turkey. People thinking they can just walk Shakur down. Yeah, tell Zapata that shit. Tell Teofimo that. Tell the cats he fought at 130 that. You just ain't walking down no Shakur Stevenson. But if you can out-condition him and be flagrant and be dirty and maul him, you can have some success. But it's just easier said than done, man. And that's why there's a bit of a fan divide, because boxing purists, they love Shakur. But the casuals want to see the mash-up, crash-up, the brawl, the blood and guts. They want to see his nuts get cut off and handed to him, partner. They want crazy shit, you know what I'm saying? Shakur ain't giving you that. So the fans are always going to be divided on Shakur Stevenson unless he decides to get into a fight and fight like how Mayweather fought Cotto and stand and go toe-to-toe like Manny Pacquiao and shit. Then maybe they'll support him the way he needs to. But I'll tell you what, he has more fan support than he ever had after that Teofimo win. So the big question is, does Shakur adjust style to please fans or just stay a pure boxer? I mean, that's up to him. But continuing on, make sure y'all leave your comments down there, man, in the comment section. Errol, Spence, and Deontay Wilder, they got fans worried. Both fighters coming off damaging losses, long layoffs, emotional uncertainty. Fans fear. They say, hey, yo, hold your horses. Let's not take it to the stupid. Spence coming back. Easy, McNicholas. Take it easy. Is Spence still mentally there after the Crawford loss, Hood? I'm like, I don't know. We're going to find out. They're like, what about Wilder? Bomb squad. Is Wilder still physically dangerous after the Zhang loss? I don't know. We're going to find out. Because now we know one thing about Spence. He took the time off. We don't know what kind of damage he had. We don't know what conversations took place between he and his primary care manager. With Deontay Wilder, we know a little bit more about him because he's come out and he was open about it and said basically he wasn't focused, was going through a lot. People weren't loyal to him. He was betrayed. And he even said when he was in training camp, he cried. He was crying in training camp. And the Wilder is just broken. And I'm not saying it. I'm saying it from a place of caring and concern. The man is broken. I even joked about it. I went through that once. It lasted about a 2-week spell. There was a woman I was dealing with. We stopped talking. I thought, whatever, get out of here, bitch. You know what I'm saying? I didn't worry about it. But I don't know, 2 days later, I don't know what happened. I started feeling something weird. It took me 3 days to eat a chicken thigh. You know what I mean? I joked about it on the lives. That's real talk right there. So it only lasted 2 weeks because I knew I had to get out there, man. And unfortunately for some of these people's daughters, I had to go out there and run through them for the next 2 weeks till I got back on my feet. But, hey, you got to do what you got to do to survive. You know what I mean? You call those survival instincts and shit. But when I watch Wilder, I'm like, man, he going through something. It seemed like he going through something like what I went through for that fortnight. But his shit's got an extended period of time because his child involved. A lot of money sound like it was involved. And that explains why he hooked up with Malik Scott. Because this whole time, we blaming Malik Scott, which I owe him an apology. And I am going to do a video to apologize to him. I'm out here calling him Freaky Maliki because he was doing all this OnlyFans and pictures there with his ass out and smoking cigars and his woman there with her breast out. I mean, some real wild shit Freaky Maliki was into. But so I'm thinking Wilder picked this man up and he ruined Wilder. But no, Wilder picked him up because he said he's the only person he could trust. And he knew, now I'm paraphrasing now, But he said what I took it at, he knew he could trust Malik Scott. He didn't know who he could trust. So he knew Malik Scott probably wasn't the optimal choice to be a trainer, but he's a person he could trust. And that's why he brought him on. And he said it's not Malik Scott's fault that he performed the way he did. He was going through a lot. And I said, yo, that takes a big man to come out here and say that. So Jeff, if he can come out here and admit that and say that's not Malik Scott, it's all on me, y'all need to ease up on him. The least I could do is a little video talking about Malik Scott and say, hey, we got it wrong. You know what I mean? So he's no longer Freaky Maliki. He's just the artist formerly known as, or the trainer formerly known as Freaky Maliki. He's just Malik Scott, man, from now on. So I gotta give him respect for that. But yo, people are still out here concerned about the wear and tear. You know, of course, with Spence, it's just a car accident. And hey, Spence knows what's best for him. So if he likes it, I guess we need to love it, right? Knockout defeats with Wilder. I don't know about either one of them. I'm supporting Spence, Wilder. I'm supporting Wilder, but I'm really concerned about Wilder because he also has a lot of damage from them knockout losses, man. The Fury fights, Shang, even getting bing by Parker. But the difference with he and Spence, and I know Spence has been through a lot, car accident, the fight with Crawford, and just how he looked. But the bottom line is, one fighter to me seems broken, and that's Wilder. And I hate to see that man like that. The other fighter seemed to be cool as a cucumber, that's Spence. So I think that could be the difference in their return. One seems to be complete, the other one seems to be incomplete. So it has some motivation questions to me on why they're returning. You know, are they returning for money, returning for legacy? Is it a fear versus pride thing? Like, hey, I can't be afraid, and my pride is telling me, you know, do it anyway, even though you probably shouldn't. You know, like, what's the real motivation for these guys coming back? I know they're getting some Wu-Tang cream, cha-ching, ching, dollar bill, y'all. But what's the real reason for coming back? But it is what it is, because ultimately it leads us to the psychological erosion discussion, because a loss breaks your aura. It did it to Errol Spence. It did it several times to Deontay Wilder, and it killed his confidence. I think when that happens, fighters second-guess instincts. And that's just being honest with you. If you keep losing, getting knocked out, you start to second-guess instincts. You don't do things instinctively in the ring. You overthink, and all of a sudden you become gun-shy, afraid to pull the trigger, and you there in the line of fire, then kaboom! You're out of there. That's why fans are panicking. They don't want to see their heroes diminished. They don't want to see that. I joked about it on the channel, but I'm serious as a heart attack. That's grown men out here crying. Earl Spence, they were crying. Deontay Wilder, I'm like, yo, y'all crying over this shit? But everybody gets emotionally invested, but they don't want to see their heroes return and get hurt. And I don't want to see those guys get hurt either, but they're going to do what they want, so you might as well support them, right? So I just think the narrative for me is, you know, are they returning to win, or are they just cashing out? I mean, that's really what it is. Are they returning for the dollar bill, y'all? Or are they returning for the legacy and hero? And here's the gold star. You did a good job. I think Earl Spence is returning to win. I think Earl Spence is returning to win, but he wants money. But I think Deontay Wilder is returning for money, but wants to win. There's a difference. There's a big difference. So as far as the symbolism of these guys, both represent an era that could be coming to an end. They've been around for a while. Crawford bounced. Porter bounced, Danny Garcia bounced, Thurman barely hanging on. Spence come back, who knows how long he's going to hang around, but it's time for a turnover. And both of these guys represent an era possibly ending. But the danger in all this is comeback losses permanently change history. I don't think Earl Spence can afford another loss, especially if he loses to Tim Tszyu. And I like Tim Tszyu, but Earl Spence ain't supposed to return and lose. And for Wilder, people are already concerned about him. They don't want to see him come back. They don't want to see him get hurt. They just want to let Wilder just go on and chill out, but they're going to do what they want. Now, speaking of people doing what they want, Ajagba and Martin, they're back. F.A. Ajagba, Charles Martin, they're fighting tonight, actually. Somebody was like, oh, this is youth versus experience. I'm like, where you get that shit from? Who's supposed to be the young guy here? This is experience versus experience. Both of these guys have been around for a little while. You know what I mean? I think it's raw power versus survival instinct. The raw power in Ajagba and the survival skills and survival instinct of Martin. Martin has power too. But I really think Martin is more about trying to survive and not get hit, not get hurt. Because Martin has been bing more than Ajagba has. But one thing about Ajagba is I don't know where he's at, but he seemed to be still learning the craft, tweaking his style. He got some power, but he needs a whole lot of discipline. But over the last couple of years, maybe he's attained the discipline that he needs. I don't know. We're going to find out tonight. Now with Martin, he's a former champion. He won the IBF strap in a weird bout where the person couldn't continue, and he became the champion. All of a sudden, he goes out there and fights AJ for like $8 million, gets clipped in the first round. So he's been very smart with his money. I don't even think he spent $1 million of that 8 yet. So Charles Martin is in a good financial position, people. But unfortunately, because of a few losses and how he's looked, he's seen as a gatekeeper. But I'll tell you what, he's very dangerous if underestimated, which it sounds to me like he could be underestimated. So what's at stake is if Ajagba loses, the hype train is derailed. If Martin loses, hey, time to retire, champ. You know what I'm saying? Hold your horses. Let's not take it to the continue fighting. Nah, take that shit to the house, get you a Pabst Blue Ribbon beer, and just breeze. Put your balls on ice and chill. No need to do this shit no more. But I want to know if Ajagba can control the range, and if Martin can survive the early storm, take Ajagba into deep waters, and, possibly drown him with that lucky left hand that he has in that southpaw style. I did hear some people complaining. I'm like, you can't make boxing fans happy. I'll just say this. Heavyweights always sell. Somebody's going to get kaboomed in there tonight. So just enjoy it and stop complaining. But I do think this fight tests development of these fighters, tests the durability of these fighters, and the mental composure and how they've been handling the inactivity. And I believe that 100%. You know what I'm saying? I just got to be real about that. Now, pushing along. Listen, I ain't got too much to say about this shit because we talked about it last night in depth, and when we got on this subject, we didn't even get beyond it. But Shields, Dezurn, and Shadasia must meet. It's a triangle. You got power, speed, and titles involved with all three women. Clarissa has star power. She has skill. She has pressure of expectation. She's got to win. She's backed in the corner. She has to win if she wants to keep wearing them chains and all that shit. And if she wants Demetrius Lita and her boyfriend / I don't know what they have going on, but and win records. They want to be able to come out here and keep showing their face and talking about how they do great work and they work with different entities and they're very successful in what they do. If that whole partnership is going to continue to thrive, Clarissa's got to win. So there's a lot of pressure of expectation. Now for Franchon, she's got true grit. There's a huge upset potential anytime she fights, and it's there for Clarissa. But sometimes she has some defensive lapses. But Franchon will grind you down. And that's why I'm paying attention. She had a full 12-week training camp. I'm paying attention to see what happens. Then you got Shadasia. She there in the breeze. Hungry, dangerous. She's the least protected. Shadasia wants to smoke with everybody. You know what I'm saying? And she's in a great position. Because if Clarissa loses, then Franchon becomes the undisputed at heavyweight. Maybe Franchon fights Shadasia, or Franchon and Clarissa may rematch. But then Shadasia can go and fight somebody else. But if Franchon loses, Clarissa, the pressure's on her to fight Shadasia. So Shadasia's in a good spot. But if Clarissa chooses to do something else and Franchon loses, Franchon's still the unified WBA and WBC champion at 168. Shadasia's a unified IBF and WBO. Or then Franchon and Shadasia can fight for undisputed at 168. So Shadasia's in a good position, man. You know what I'm saying? And I do think these three mixing it up in one way, shape, or form is inevitable. Talk about title consolidation, the fan demand, and just promotional alignment. And it does sound like MVP Promotions and Salida Promotions are willing to work together to make the biggest and best fights. The only place I see is going to be a bit of a sticking point is Clarissa Shields and the A side. But even Shadasia said she doesn't care if Clarissa's the A side. You know, Shadasia is not trying to complicate nothing. She is the A side. Shadasia, that's why I like Shadasia. She's a realist. Clarissa's profile is bigger than mine. Doesn't mean she's going to beat me, but her profile is bigger than mine. She deserves to be the A side. Let's make the fight. No excuses. That just shows you someone who believes in themselves and ready to get it on, man. But some risks are involved. If Shields loses, oh, all hell gonna break loose. You're gonna have chaos. If Dezurn loses, I mean, the division reshapes a bit, but it ain't the end of the world. So the bigger meaning is women's boxing is just building rivalries, and we're seeing that. And it's nice and it's healthy, especially when they do it in a... They're going to talk a little shit, but when it's clean trash talking. You know what I'm saying? And this is the modern version of Hagler, Hearns, and the Leonard Triangle. It really is, man. Anyway, enough on them three. I could talk about Shadasia. I could talk about all of them all day, especially Shadasia, but let's move on and get through the rest of my goddamn notes. I want to talk about Oscar De La Hoya blocking Boots and Ortiz. This is just ridiculous. The fight represents risk versus reward. Oscar De La Hoya don't want to take no risk. His logic is he's protecting his asset. We know that, putting duck sauce on the carne asada and shit. Avoiding 50-50 fights, feel it's too early and we don't know what's going to happen. Yeah, man, Vergil wants to fight, make the fight. The promoter works for the fighter, but Oscar's out here still thinking that he's the fighter. He wants to control. He doesn't want to risk Vergil losing. If Vergil loses to Boots Ennis, nobody going to say nothing. Just do the rematch. Vergil can fight, and he wants to fight. I just right now, I don't like Oscar De La Hoya, man. I don't understand that dude. That's why I'm not the only one agitated. Fans are angry. They're like, yo, Oscar De La Hoya, hold your horses and stop taking it to the stupid. Best fighters should fight the best. What are you doing? You know, you trying to build stars? Well, put Vergil in there and fight. Even if he loses, you still build him because we know Vergil is going to fight tooth and nail. He ain't going out like that. He ain't going to just get in there and roll over. But Oscar may feel like I'm destroying my market. I'm destroying my market. Yeah, I need my guys. Golden Boy Promotions. I can't have my show pony lose. I have to get the fuck out of here with that. Then Jerome Boots Ennis, he just like for real. Yeah. I'll take over. I'm taking over. For real. Jerome Boots Ennis is a style nightmare for anybody, but he's unproven at the elite level. Passes the eye test, but he's unproven. That's why some people are like, yo, hold your horses, Hood. Vergil gonna blast his ass up out the ring. I'm like, I don't know about that. But they're like, who's proven, who's not? I'm like, I get you. I get it. I understand. But when they come at me like that, I gotta be real. You're like, one guy's proven, the other one's not. Okay, but for Ortiz, you know, he seems to be doing good, but I still have little concerns about his health. But he's a really good pressure fighter. So the business reality looks like for these guys, if one of them were to lose, it could kill a future pay-per-view event. That's why they just need to make the fight now. Don't have Vergil fight somebody else and Boots fight somebody else. Because they got to fight killers. They can't keep moving down the ladder. But if somebody loses, there's some kind of hiccup, that's going to kill the pay-per-view event, which is going to suck. So I guess I have like an ethics question, man. Should promoters block greatness? Because that's exactly what De La Hoya is doing. But anyway, y'all can leave that comment in the section below. Then you got Zurdo, Ramirez, and David Benavidez. Somebody about to put duck sauce on the fried rice because they talking about moving up to heavyweight. I'm like, what? So they're going to fight. Jai Opetaia is at cruiserweight. They're at cruiserweight now. But they're talking about moving up to talking about legacy at heavyweight, opportunities at heavyweight. There's no big fights left at cruiserweight. Yeah, there is. Somebody named Jai Opetaia. What are you talking about? Yo, so I know Benavidez ain't afraid of nobody, but I'll tell you this. They want to go up to heavyweight. Okay, whatever. Jai Opetaia probably follow him up there anyway. But the heavyweight power is different, man. Size versus strength. Muscle doesn't equal bone density. So these guys want to go up to heavyweight. Hopefully somebody fights Jai Opetaia before they do that. I'm just saying, you go to heavyweight, one punch will change your career. You know what I'm saying? Only few succeed that move from light heavyweight, cruiserweight, up to heavyweight. You know what I'm saying? Is there financial upside? Yeah, bigger fights, bigger money. But the cultural meaning is Mexican fighters going to heavyweight is rare. Not everybody can be a Molina or Areola. I mean, you just don't see many Mexican heavyweights, you know. But I tell you what, there's some big time danger here. Pride versus safety. So they better be careful wearing that pride on their goddamn sleeve and go up there to heavyweight and now they get binged and they're not the same. Now, speaking of Jai Opetaia, to me, he needs to face them first. You know what I'm saying? I'm just being honest with you. That is the fight to make. He's in his prime. But there seem to be some weight issues. Benavidez and Zurdo, they haven't been at cruiserweight that long. So, but they're talking about going to heavyweight, so I don't know how much time they need to acclimate. They should be pretty comfortable by now. Well, Benavidez just getting up there, but the bottom line is that if you're fighting big guys in sparring, it shouldn't matter to me. Once you go up to cruiserweight, just get in there and fight each other, then somebody fight Jai Opetaia. But the politics and everything and different promoters, that can make things complicated, man, you know, with Jai and Zuffa and whatever he's doing. I don't know how realistic it is for him to make fights, but it sounds like they'll allow him to go and try to unify, become undisputed with the traditional sanctioning bodies. But I'll tell you what, it's a fan fantasy. Cruiserweight King, Jai Opetaia versus the monster Benavidez. And even Zurdo, we could throw him in as a monster too. But I just think the risk for Opetaia, if he gets into one of those fights, if he loses, it kills his momentum. He can't afford to lose, man. So with Opetaia, I think he just needs belts, not names. Just whoever has a belt, go for it. You know what I'm saying? Because Nonito Donaire, he about to fight this guy Masuda. He just, should he keep fighting or should he retire? Because Donaire is a legend, but he's got the age factor against him. Fans feel he's done enough. Fighters feel one more run. The danger is the reaction time fades. And Nonito Donaire, as long as he continues, is going to be more of a risk of him getting hurt. But you got that emotional shit going on. Pride versus my health. You know, I can do it. But he's a symbol, man, the end of a golden era, and he's going to do what he wants. But I'll tell you what, before I end this video, right, I'm telling you right now, Errol Spence and Keith Thurman at 154, to me, they're on a collision course if they both win. Errol Spence got to stop putting duck sauce on the goddamn jerk chicken. Because this shit about, well, Keith Thurman didn't give me a chance, an opportunity at 147. Hey, yo, Errol Spence Jr., hold your horses and stop taking it to the stupid. Let that shit go. There is no other option for Errol Spence. If he beats Tim Tszyu, if Keith Thurman beats Fundora, Keith Thurman will be a WBC champion at 154. The logical fight to make is Thurman and Spence. Old rivalry revived. You know what I'm saying? The weight change removes the whole weight drain conversation for both of them. The motivation should be the pride. The damage history, both of them have been hurt before. You know what I'm saying? The risk, whoever loses, they have to live with that loss the rest of their life. I don't know if they'll be finished, but somebody probably going to be hurt because I think Spence more than Keith Thurman. So the narrative is who really declined first is what they're going to say, depending on how the fight goes. But it's just ego versus survival, and we'll see what happens. Anyway, man, boxing, it can be unstable and it can be fascinating. There's a lot going on with all these fighters I just mentioned. I'll just tell you this. There's a lot of fear, a lot of business, a lot of pride, a lot of ego, a lot of survival in modern boxing. And we're seeing it with all these fighters I just talked about. Y'all keep cool. I'm about to go to the gym. Shout out to the veterans all 7 continents. Yo, I'm in the breeze.